Welcome to another edition of Bowie TV's Youth, Community, and Lifestyle. During this hour, we're bringing you highlights from some of our shows focused on youth, community, and lifestyle. Please be sure to give us a follow on all of our social platforms. First up on How to Steam Your Dreams, check out the trailer of the 2025 DMV Ocean Bowl Games at the Universities of Shady Grove. On Read Science, dive into the final part of the discussion on the universe, comets, and more. Next, Prince George's County Councilmember at large Walla Blegay shares what her role entails and how she's continuing to be of service to the county. Finally, on VIP in the DMV, Sheriff John D.B. Carr redefines what it means to serve and protect in the county. Thank you for tuning into this week's programming of Bowie TV's Youth, Community, and Lifestyle, and have a safe and happy New Year.
So who's going home with this?
Hi, I'm your shoutcaster, Cherie L. Smith, and I am here for the 2025 Ocean Bowl Games, sponsored by AstraZeneca. I know we just finished up with Baltimore, and that was a lot of action. It was a lot of tears. It was a lot of cheers. It was awesome, but we're not done yet because we are here at the first time ever at the beautiful, the spacious, the futuristic University at Shady Grove for more STEAM-based action. So yeah, there are going to be some nail biters, there are going to be some mind rattlers, there's going to be some teeth clatters, and we are going to find out if our team from Baltimore, the champs, Team XPG, can do it again and take the whole enchilada. But will somebody else come out of the woodwork and knock them off the throne? I don't know. You're going to have to stay tuned and find out.
And he thinks that understanding scale is kind of like the new geography. You have to be able to put things into context in order to understand what it means. So yes, is that program that they cut $10 billion from, is that a lot? Is that a little? Is that, again, that the economy and politics is just one realm, but there's so many ways. Is that hurricane that just, 10% more powerful and destructive? Is it 100 times? Is it 1,000 times? Like, understanding what the steps are and the real relationship is challenging, and I think really, really important given what's happening in our world today.
So the one tidbit say that the Hubble Space Telescope has the mass of 300 golden retrievers is amusing, illustrative and things, but and also I think subversive in a way because it's easy for people to read. But it's also easy to remember. And those things, as they pile up in your mind, right, is what allows your brain, your mind, to make that induction of the idea of what magnitude is so that you have all of these things piled up on it. It's not a simple idea. It's one that grows and you come to it over time.
Yeah, and I think we tried to format the book, I think, a way to make that easier to process. It's not a book you have to read front cover to back cover, as Joanne is so beautifully illustrating right now. It's easy to dive in and out so that you can, go check out a section on time and understand it, and then kind of go back and check out acceleration, kind of a natural extension. There's, and I think it's a convenient book to be able to just look at a little bit, process it, go look at something else, process it. You know, and it relates to so much. I mean, we've got the Winter Olympics coming up, for example, and there's going to be a lot of really interesting numbers thrown around just in the Olympics. And exactly, we actually use that a couple of times in the book. You know, there are so many numbers being thrown around, and there's a lot of numbers in this book, and hopefully we did all the calculations right. So yes, numbers are really important though. I mean, at the end of the day, that's, I think, one of the points that we're hoping people kind of take away, how important some of these quantities actually are.
Right, and I like what I was trying to sort of show is the compare, because when Jeff said 300 gold, you know, we've got almost everything you've mentioned has a compare, and it will relate. The density of this is 1/4 of that, of the other thing on this page. And I thought that was very clever. And, you know, I could see a kid going, oh, that's cool. A typical ceiling fan rotates 40,000 times faster than the Earth rotates. You know, who knew, right?
I like the one idea. There's so many ideas, layers of ideas, which is good because that rewards people for coming back, and there's more depth. But locating these images for comparison on the logarithmic scale, I thought was a very nice touch. It's one way to organize it. And you know, the first time you read the book, it's cute, but you may not pay much attention to it. And then later on, it starts to add depth. And happily with that depth, what you get, you start to get a better intuitive feel for what magnitude is. And you also sort of through the back door come to understanding what this really for comparing these big and small things.
Yeah, you broke up a little, Jeff. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I was just the usual stuff. But the logarithmic scale is important, but you can come back to it later when you say, I wonder what that means. And when you look at it more closely, look, it repays that by giving you more depth of information and helping you understand magnitude and how to compare things, how to understand it.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to that analogy of like a literacy with scale. I mean, I think, you know, you can have sort of the analogy of a foreign language is that you're kind of getting some key phrases and some key basic understanding, and then over time you build fluency. You're not going to be fluent the first time around, but being fluent in scale I think I'm biased, but I think it's very important. And so hopefully this book can help you feel more comfortable with those, you know, initial useful phrases of scale, and then over time, if you can return to it and get more information, more detail, more breadth of your language of scale over time.
Megan, I love that analogy. You have to use that again. Yeah. Save that.
I'll forget it in 10 minutes. So.
Oh, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
It penetrates nicely that intimidation barrier of feeling like there's too much. I can never understand it all. I'll never be able to speak French. But yes, learn how to ask where the toilet is. Say what your favorite food is. After a while, you'll understand how to use logarithmic scales to compare things.
Yes,
right.
Exactly. I love that. Even the toilet.
Jeff always says, he says, everyone can learn science. You might not be able to do it in 5 minutes, but it can be done. And so I feel like this book is one way to do 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, and it adds up. And I'm going to say a curiosity that wasn't necessarily in the book, but it made me look it up. So you had the term undecillion, which is 1 followed by 36 zeros. Okay. And I went to look that up because I was like, why have I not heard, or why did that not stick in my brain when I saw it before? And they said, oh, in the US, it's a 1 followed by 36 zeros, but in the UK, it's 1 followed by 66. And I thought, who did that? You know, there's no excuse for that. I can handle saying a lift versus an elevator, but don't mix up the numbers.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is, I think once you get past a trillion, it no longer has any value. And even trillion, it's still very hard for people to grasp. So we can put labels on these numbers as much as we want. But I think in the book, we tried to do this a lot, like going back to the example of Cassiopeia A, the area, we said it's like 40 million billion times, because it's already getting to the point where if you start tossing out trillions and even larger, those labels just don't add anything to the conversation, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good concept to get away from, you know, to take away from the book. And especially if the names are going to be changing,
Yeah,
Well,
exactly. If it's not standard.
And that's one of the reasons why when the names get sort of meaningless. And so at some point, when you're a little more fluent with scale, you need to be able to deal with scientific notation, which sounds horrible and scary, but it really isn't. So we do spend a little bit of time in the introduction trying to explain it. And there are other ways to explain it and whatever, but this was our attempt. And so, because at some point, if you really want to know the numbers, you have to be okay with understanding scientific notation. And it unfortunately, I think because it's math, or looks like math, people get immediately scared off. So one of the things is we want people to get away from that fear factor of, and again, that's further down the line for most people. If they're just dipping their toe into it, don't worry about it. But once you get a little more comfortable, that little exponent is going to be your best friend with really understanding what the real value is for that amount of whatever you're talking about.
And I mean, honestly, we kind of wrote a book that, this is something I could have used. Like, this is a reference that I really could have used when I was in high school, thinking about what I wanted to do with my life. And when I was in college and kind of being introduced to topics that I hadn't seen before, I really could have used a book like this to kind of help pave the way. Because I think we do a decent job of helping people understand that scientific notation and how it means something. Because I think in, high school and even college, you just kind of get it kind of tossed in with everything else. But this kind of looks at it as its own importance. And yeah, I sometimes feel like you write the books that you want to read. And this is definitely the case in both this one and Light.
So my battery died, Joanne.
No.
I wanted to read the dedication from Light, since we're talking about trying to make science, trying to invite people to enjoy science. But in Light at the beginning, you wrote, for those who love science and for those who don't love science. I was pleased by that.
Oh, yeah. It's right there.
Yeah, that's sort of our goal. Is I think we want to show everyone that anyone can be a, quote, science person. And maybe you've had a bad experience. Maybe you just assumed you were not part of the science, community or whatever. But we think everyone has the potential to be a science person. And trust me, we know that there's a lot of barriers for a lot of people, especially if you're of certain populations, that it is not a welcoming thing. So, we're two women, and we really feel strongly about having more women, more people of color, more people who are generally disenfranchised, to realize that they too belong with science, and it's not for some other, just white male dudes. No offense, Jeff.
Yeah, no, we had written, I think Megan had written this little tagline for our first book, that you don't need a medical degree to know that you're sick. You don't need an advanced degree in literature to be able to appreciate a good book. And that's kind of the point here. You don't need to have a degree in astrophysics or physics or cellular biology or anything else to be able to have an access point to this type of material. And that's something we've been doing in our careers, for the past two decades. It's gone by fast.
But we start
wonders of science even more.
Yeah.
I do wonder, I know you want a break, but do you think there's another book inside?
Yeah, there is.
So we said we wouldn't be writing one for a while, but I don't know.
We just think it's such an exciting thing to try. I think we will definitely do something next. We don't know what that next quite is yet, but we will.
Yeah.
I think we're addicted, now at this point.
Yes, we are. We are.
They're amazing books. They're amazing books. I'm worried about you, Jeff. Are you going to disappear on us?
I may. The battery's saying, oh, you're only 12%, and look, my phone is heating up, and I'm fanning as fast as I can.
And believe it or not, I'm on my laptop, and I did not bring my charger, so I'm about to disappear. I know. We're all we need to understand how electricity works, so we know how to plug in our computer. So I'll be good for a couple more minutes, and then I think I'm gonna organically fall off the wayside.
I think something's telling us something.
It's the end of the year pressure.
Right. So quickly, there's another book that you two were involved with which I didn't have. And what was that book?
That was Coloring the Universe, and I can grab a copy off of my shelf and hold it up to the camera so everybody can see it in a second. But that's a book that we wrote with Travis Rector, who's at the University of Alaska. He's an astronomer up there who does some really amazing projects. He takes some beautiful images with a number of different kinds of optical telescopes primarily. But we all have a similar expertise level interest in working with the data to create these really beautiful images. And of course, these images are, beautiful, but they are images of science. So the idea was to kind of, in this book, step you through how most of these images are created, starting from like the ones and zeros, that binary code where it all begins, and then taking you through the steps of processing, smoothing, finding your field of view, some of these sort of aesthetic components of how to frame your image to, provide a more pleasing version of it, how to work with artifacts and removal if necessary, and then finally, how to color the data. And the idea of colorizing astronomical data is, for me, it's a really fascinating topic to talk about because I think a lot of people have this assumption that these are, giant space selfies, that, we take this snapshot and that's it. But most of these images have no color associated with them if we're going, non-geological type of images of, say, planets. So we have these black and white data sets that we have to work with, and how do you colorize them? How do you do that in a way that is both scientifically accurate, but also aesthetically pleasing? And then how do you talk about that? Because there is this issue that if you think it is the way this image is, if you could zoom in your spacecraft and get up close and personal to this nebula or this exploded star or whatever, there's this idea that you can actually lose trust from your viewer or reader if you don't properly explain how the images are created. And as I mentioned to Joanne earlier, I mean, it kind of starts even with other images that are much, much smaller. You have the same issues that go on with molecular images, and how do you talk about that type of image processing and adding false color and all that. There's a lot of similar concepts that go on. So yeah, the book, I think, was a really fun exploration of that. It's a little bit more in depth, and I'll let Megan talk as I go get the visual to show, and it can be Vanna White.
Yeah. So, one of the most common questions that Travis gets, and we've gotten it over the years too, is, are these images real? And then they find out, and people want to know, how are they made? And then they hear that, oh, you use Photoshop. Does that mean you fake it? And, like they do with celebrities on, and so there's just a lot of misinformation, but we like to refer to some of these images, for lack of a better term, is space porn, because some people, just, love these images and they're obsessed with them. And then they find out, wait, but you use Photoshop, or you added color, so they're not real. And then, so the whole point of the book was to explain that, yes, they're very much real. It's a translation from something that we cannot see with our eyes to something that we can. So it's very much trying to explain to people generally who already love space images, how they're made, and sort of the, lifting the veil behind the Wizard of Oz kind of thing of how it works. To show that these are absolutely scientifically accurate images, and this is what's done to them. And in our professional lives, and Kim's more involved with this than I am, we try to be very upfront with what processing is and is not done, so that people can find out, and you can play with the data sets yourselves, even if you want, to show that these are not, colored by numbers. We're not making up data. We're not, painting in whatever we want. But it's a complicated subject. So it's, it definitely is for someone who loves photography, who loves astronomical imagery. But you have to already kind of want to be interested in, or already interested in, this topic, I think. So it's a little more, it's not quite as a broad interest perhaps, but I think it's a really great book, and I'm very proud of it too.
Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of the Spotlight DMV, where we talk about all things Prince George's County. And it is your girl, Rose. Today's conversation is coming at an important moment. There's been a noticeable amount of transition within county leadership lately, and for many residents, that raises questions about stability, continuity, and the future of the county. The County Council recently voted unanimously to appoint Councilmember Walla Blegay as Councilmember at Large. We're going to talk about what that role actually means, what her focus is right now, and what residents should expect moving forward. We're not here for headlines or speculation. We're here for understanding. Councilmember Blegay, welcome back to the spotlight, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much. And we do appreciate all you do to highlight all the great things we have in the county. You know, with the news roles here, sometimes there's always focus on, crime and things like that. But, we've got good things going on in the county. We appreciate your spotlight. You're helping us get the word out there.
Well, thank you so much. And a large part of what I like to spotlight as well are opportunities for the community to get involved, to get engaged, and to learn what all these things mean when transitions happen or when resources come up, when things are popping up and, it's money being put towards it. And they're like, well, where's the money coming from? And so I really want to also inspire our community members to get engaged civically. And so let's just jump right into it. For folks who may not follow the structure of county government closely, can you explain what the council member at large role is and how it differs from representing a specific district?
So when I remember when there was the whole discussion of having at large before it got to voters' door, because voters voted for at large. The bigger thing is that the council will have a council member that will focus on things that impact the entire county, as opposed because the district work can be very time consuming. From all the District 6 has a lot of development, and we just added Six Flags, but before Six Flags, you're talking about Westphalia, you're talking about Largo. There's all these other home projects coming throughout the county. So you have to spend a lot of time on that and then direct constituent service. And that's really what the district member really focuses on. So some of the bigger issues that I've been focused on for a while has been the emergency room wait times, the primary care issue. We looked at some environmental issues, so electric vehicles, food is medicine, the federal workers. A lot of those things are more countywide issues, and every council member kind of touches on countywide issues, but their focus really should be their districts, which is very time consuming. But I love my district, and I do appreciate District 6 for really opening the door for me to be able to serve. And I have one of the best districts in the county, where we have not only the seat of government there, but we have what people, when they said the richest Black county, that, they were looking at a lot of the communities in my district. But the biggest things that we had, I found that when I was working on some of these countywide issues, I had limitations in just capacity. So when the opportunity opened up, and I wanted to actually run for this in last year when it opened up, but I put my name in and I took it out because of the cost that it would put for a special election. Like the special election of having to fill my seat will be more costly for the county, and in a time of a structural deficit, I didn't think that was a good idea. But now this opportunity comes within the year of Calvin's term, and when you're after a year, then there should be an appointment. And so I went through the appointment process, and I was really impressed with a lot of the people who actually presented for the at-large. We're just lucky to have a very well-informed community that has a very long resumes. So I definitely felt that it was really competitive, but I did feel like the work that I've already been doing has touched on this job already. I'm replacing someone who was known to be the people's champ, and Councilmember Hawkins was not only known to be the people's champ, but he was an active and really, especially re-entry was definitely something that he looked at in some of the small business issues. So I'm taking that baton and continue to do the championing of it. As you remember, I did State of the Power, and what we're going to do, we're actually starting with that. We're going to have town halls throughout the county, and I'm going to start my town hall down in District 9 in Brandywine, but we're going to focus on State of the Power. And State of the Power, we are going to talk about the electricity issue that we have. Bring your own generation. There's a lot of things that I learned. I had an online version of State of the Power. Now we're taking it to the community, and we're going to start in District 9, and we're going to head up the Beltway up to District 1. So we are going to be engaging community be. In addition, I put out a community survey, which we're going to be putting out there, and that community survey is going to basically let people know that I want to hear from them on their concerns or what they want to do, those type of things. So that community service survey is going to give me a chance to learn beyond just District 6, because even though I've been working on countywide issues, some of the issues that impact the northern part of the county might not be issues with southern part of the county. Southern part of the county, there's a huge issue when it comes to road infrastructure, right? Which is something similar to what we have here, but it's even more. They don't have as much metro there. There's a lot of stuff. So there's some things that we need to focus on, and I'm moving up and down the county. But the point is that this gives me a thing to look at the county at a very wide range. But, the hardest thing, it is hard to leave my district because we have some of the exciting projects with Westphalia. They're going to be announcing a new grocer in the next 2 months. It's just taking a little time. There's been negotiations, and because it's an NDA, I'm not part of that. But they're going to be announcing a new grocer. They're going to be in Largo. We have a new owner of the Carillon where the hospital is, and he's got some great ideas. So we want to let people know about that. And then we also have Six Flags, which we are waiting for the announcement of the new owner. And that one, I think that's more of a county-wide project, and I would definitely be involved with that along with the county executive, because that's going to be a big project that's going to restructure how people look at the county. So there's so much to talk about.
Yes, you said you gave us a whole lot, and I have a lot of that to actually talk a little bit more about. But one thing that you did mention was that you had considered running for this role previously, and so let's kind of talk about how the role fits into the moment the county is experiencing right now. And there's been, like I mentioned, a lot of transition within the county council, and some people are calling it musical chairs. And for some residents, that can feel unsettling. What would you say to community members who are concerned about stability and continuity during this period of change?
We're just at a unique time when I don't think the past council has ever dealt with a new county executive, a new U.S. senator, a new state's attorney, and then just new council members overall. This has been a unique period, so it can feel like, oh, this is just musical chairs. They're just playing musical chairs. The reality is that rarely do people just give up their positions and walk away. There's always a reason, as you heard from Councilmember Hawkins. He's dealing with his mom. There was a unique issues with Councilmember Mel Franklin. Aisha was elevated. Tara Jackson got into state's attorney. I mean, this is unprecedented. You're not the next 4 years won't be like this, possibly. So with that, but you know what? Let me just say this. When people say unprecedented times, the reality is that in the state, they've been doing appointments for a long time. The state, they said that around a third of the state representatives are appointed. So since I've been around, at least in the last 10 years, I've watched almost all of these senators. I mean, you look at District 22, District 24, District 2025, District 27 now, all have new senators all through appointments. Most of the delegates that have come in those districts have been all through appointments. And so the state is, is people are used to it, but it's also not as visible as council. People know that council members better than they know their state representatives. So I get that. But here's what I will say. I think if there was a time for change, this is perfect because you're dealing with a new regime coming in. I mean, most of the council members that are on the council now, but even beyond this appointment, we're all pretty new. Most of us now they said that it's a millennial change. There's more millennials in office than before. You got a new county executive, and this is at the time where the county is taking a transition. We have lost Six Flags. So now we're looking at what we're going to do at Six Flags, which could define the county. We're looking at the loss of the Commander. So what are we going to do with the Commander Stadium? And then we're also facing the attack of federal workers. So one of the biggest things that we're talking about at the county level is how do we rebrand the county? Because if we can't rely on the federal government. If the federal government becomes attacked, we do need to get ourselves known in other industries that will help us thrive in the most difficult time. So we're all looking at all of these things now. So it is actually great that we have new leadership, because new leadership can look at this, which is going to, what comes at Six Flags, what comes at the Commanders, what industries we embrace, whether it's quantum, whether there's some industries that we're looking at. Tech is something I started the AI task force. This is going to define what the county is going to look like for the next 20 to 30 years. Just as the Wayne Currys of the world really transformed the county. I mean, you think about it, 30 years ago, this county was looking at coming from a rural county to a rural white county to a wealthy African American affluent county. I mean, this was from the 70s to the 90s. You saw tremendous change that you almost didn't even recognize the place that you were. We're at that point now. It's a transition. And with this transition, there's all new leadership. So this is an exciting time. When the Six Flags was first announced, I was scared because it came out of nowhere. We did not plan it. And this wasn't the only place they were closing. They closed a place in California. And from what we hear, there'll be other closures. But the reality is that this opened up a door that I never thought that I would have to look at. So I was scared at first, but then I thought about it and said, wow, this is an opportunity, because an opportunity means that we can look at what this will look like in the future. And that's critical.
I love that outlook, looking at challenges as an opportunity. And, with this particular position and a lot of the ones where people have been appointed lately, it is finishing out a term, which means that the timeline is shorter than what you would have had if it was a full term. And so how does that shape your approach and focus to getting things done?
Well, I would say this. I have work to do to hit the ground running. That's why we're starting next month doing District 9 and up, because I'm introducing myself to people that might not know me, that might not know the great work that I've done in District 6. And I'm dealing with people that are like, what's going to happen with our district? And I want to assure them I'm still a council member. So I'm still going to be working, helping out with District 6. Maybe we won't be doing direct constituent service in a way that we're going to give that to the district rep, because that is what they do. But I mean, District 6 is where I live. So that is going to be continue to be something that I make sure they are being heard. But what I want people to know is we've already been working on many of these issues that are hitting the county as a whole. And frankly, it kind of frees me, because when I did the work, I would have all these people contacting me from other districts, 4, 1, 2, 3. And sometimes be like, well, I got, you got to talk to your council representative. Now, as at large, I can freely tell them I'm going to do. So my point now is to introduce myself to the entire county and let them see the work that I've done, and that I'm a hard worker, and that is why I've been able to at least get name recognition. And it's not just because of putting my name out there. It's been my advocacy. It's been the policies that we brought forth that's gotten my name out there. So that's why I was voted by all of my colleagues, because they know my work. And this wasn't some sort of fixed deal or anything. I literally was able to, convince people because of the work that they've seen me do. And it speaks for my work.
Yes, and I'm a District 6 resident myself. And so selfishly, for residents who may be feeling uncertain about what the transition means for who is now going to fill the vacancy of the District 6 seat, how is that being handled as far as making sure there's continuity in the things that you were working on? And, with you being at large, I'm sure you can help with that transition. Yeah. But right now, it's really all eyes on District 6 because of some of the larger projects that are being called out, like Northwest Stadium, as you've mentioned, and Six Flags. And so what does that mean for us and for me and for who's coming in next?
And this is no fixed deal. I have not anointed anyone. That I do have some community members I do know that are interested in that. We encourage everybody to apply. I think that I want it to be a fair process. When this was when I put my name in, I want to make sure that other people felt that they had the fair chance of going in. And so with this one, this is an open process and we encourage everyone to apply. And I really will work with whoever is selected to make sure that the district is taken care of. Like I'm still on the council, so this is be a concern of mine and I'm going to make sure of it.
And so, moving on to some of the priorities that residents are concerned about, like again, Six Flags and Northwest Stadium, and grocery access in some communities. You mentioned Westphalia and some grocers coming, and you even mentioned Caroline and having a new owner and some movement on that. And these are all projects that you have been very instrumental in making sure that your constituents were informed about. And, it doesn't just affect District 6, even though it was in our district. It affects the health of the economic stability of the county. So talk to us a bit about those projects that you were working on and what that's now going to look like since you are in an at-large role.
Well, I will start off with Six Flags because that's probably the most notable one. Right now, there's an NDA process that both parties have to go through for negotiations. It's owned by Six Flags, so Six Flags controls that. So we don't have any control. But what we did do is I opened myself up to anybody who was open to bid to come and talk to me about what we wanted to see. What people don't realize is that Six Flags, they only use 150 acres of their land. Of the 500 acres. And so they really didn't use full land. And to be honest, that was about 70 employees and only about $3 million in income for the county revenues. Now, not that 3 million is nothing, because it is something.
Yeah.
However, think about the fact that if you go down to National Harbor, you're talking about $73 million in revenues with only 250 acres of usage. So we need to really activate that area. And now it will be activated because it's going to be, I don't know, because I'm not part of the negotiation process, but that's a pretty expensive deal. And when you have an expensive deal like that, the person that comes in is going to activate that whole area. What we did realize with some of the proposals is that we made sure that there needed to be some sort of amusement or attraction that could get, make people drive in from exit 15 in, much like Six Flags. So they agreed that they would be that, but what we're trying to figure out, what will be the other acreage of use? Because of the 500 acres, maybe 400 acres of that is actually you can build on. And that's what we're trying to figure out. And that's what we would determine who wins it. And by then we would get what their other part. It could be from science. There's been high tech science that was suggested. There was even more of industrial. There's also been homes suggested. I know people don't like the idea of that, and I don't like the idea of that either. We really need to focus on expanding the commercial tax base. And I will say in that area, there's already housing, so we really don't need housing. But we want to see what the proposal is. And I will say that we did make it clear to Six Flags what we wanted. So they said that the top people that they've picked have fallen in line with at least that amusement area option. Will it be now? What's clear is that it most likely would not be an amusement park. It looks like there's something going on in that industry, and they're saying that it won't be an amusement park, but it will be something. But they could be something similar, but not. It won't be Disney World.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, we do need to see what the balance is, and I will hope working with whoever takes over to make sure, because the county executive is more committed to that, because that's a regional project that would have that type thing. So I'm definitely going to be, no matter what, very much involved with that, because I'm still on the council no matter what. And I will say that we are waiting for the new owner to be announced. That has to happen first. What happens is that people are like, oh, what's going on? It's like, you got announced, they announced to you all that it was going to close 6 months before it closed. So now that it's closed, they're finishing negotiations, and those things take time.
And you mentioned also Caroline. When can we expect to hear a little more information about that or see some movement there?
Probably early next year. The new owners are coming in. They're trying to make some changes to the plans, and they do have some very cool options that they're bringing in. They're meeting with leasing. Their leasing team is meeting with different stores and everything to see what comes, and there will be a high-end apartment, a hotel, all of those things. The biggest issue with development is that it just doesn't take. It's just not quick. It just not
Yeah.
quick. You can start talking about something and you probably won't see the groundbreak until 4 or 5 years from now, or the actions of it. Everything takes a lot to move a project. And once it's done, then, they say that Wayne Curry was the one who really worked with the developer Peterson to do National Harbor, but it was Jack Johnson that broke ground. You know what I mean? Like, it was not his, Wayne wasn't in office because it takes a long time. So that it's been frustrating for me. I mean, even with Westphalia, when us talking about, we had went from no retail to a grocer that was basically confirmed. But when we're waiting for the grocer to be confirmed, but they are negotiating and it's taking months, and that is nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
So that is, but we also have other projects. Caroline has got some fun stuff going. I'm excited about some of the initial meetings that they're having with people. There's some upscale folks that if it works out, it would be beautiful. So I'm just prayers that everything works out. It's just that the council is not involved with those negotiations. It's really money. That's a money talk. But then we also have a lot of things off the Blue Line corridor that we're looking at, from Addison Road to Capitol Heights. We've got Glenwood Hills, where we're going to be having some multi-units and grocery store and retail. We have all of these things coming, and when they all come, it's going to transform the area. But again, with the development, it's a waiting game. And that's the most frustrating thing about development.
Hello, welcome back to VIP in the DMV. I am truly honored and excited about this episode. I have a very special VIP in the DMV. Y'all help me welcome John D.B. Carr, the Sheriff of Prince George's County, Maryland.
Hello, thank you. It's a pleasure being here with you today.
And I am so excited about this program because, you actually brought a different meaning to the word sheriff, in my opinion. Meaning when people think about a sheriff, they think about what?
Evictions, warrants, child support, seeing somebody in the court. We also get Andy Griffin, Barney Fife, being up from Marlboro, but no, we want to try to give a different appearance. We want to be part of the community, even though we're the law enforcement arm of the courts.
Okay.
We want to make sure that we're more part of the community and that we're there during the good times and just not during the bad.
So Sheriff Carr, with that in mind, you're a former Prince George's County police officer as well?
I am not.
You are not.
I've only been in the office of the sheriff. I've been there over 23 years now. So I worked my way all the way through every rank at the office of the sheriff.
Wow.
Even starting working in domestic violence when we were serving our peace and protective orders 24 hours, 7 days a week. I worked when we were in the schools. I was a school resource deputy over at Largo High School. Did that for several years, was a supervisor, internal affairs, SWAT. So I've been everywhere, training coordinator,
Wow.
Warrants, child support, landlord, tenant, everything. So I've been able to see exactly what the roles of the office of the sheriff, what they actually and how they affect the community. And, being from Prince George's County, I wanted to make a difference and an impact.
I want to ask that question. What specifically inspired you to become in law enforcement or to serve in law enforcement? Is there something specific?
There were several things. So one, I never thought I would be in uniform. When I was coming up, and as a youth, we looked at law enforcement completely different. When I was playing Boys and Girls Club, I was around in DC, working and playing, football. Number 14 Boys and Girls Club right off of Minnesota Avenue.
You still remember?
I still remember that. Yes, I still remember that. And we had a DC officer, Alfred Gurley, who would, pick me up. He was our coach. They would pass out the player cards. You had McGriff the crime dog. You had them always coming and talking. That was more of my positive influence as far as law enforcement. As I became a teenager and I lived off of Sylvia Hill Road in Hickory Hills, my view of law enforcement was much different,
Explain that. Yeah.
So how we encountered and what we would do as far as we're hanging out, we're thinking that we're okay, we're having a good time. That's when we had the go-go's and you had, going out and enjoying yourselves.
Okay.
Our interaction with law enforcement was much different. It was more the lines of they were going to press us out.
Get off the street.
You'll be sitting on the curb
Okay.
somewhere in handcuffs. They're pulling you over, asking you, several different questions. So me being in uniform, it was something that I never thought I wanted to do. As I started to grow, went to college, University of Maryland, College Park, ran track. I actually majored in criminology, criminal justice. Wanted to be a lawyer, wanted to be an attorney.
Okay.
Thought I had the mind and the skills to articulate and actually, work within the judicial system, trying to either defend or prosecute cases. As I graduated college. I was still heavily in sports as I ran track and field.
Okay, let me start you for one moment.
Yes.
So, from sitting on the corner,
Yes.
were you ever put in handcuffs?
Yes.
You were?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So you were one of the people.
Yes.
You mean Sheriff John D.B. Carr, our sheriff of Prince George's County,
Yes.
once had on handcuffs,
Yes.
on the corner, told to sit down.
Yes.
What
Doing
was that like?
Field observation, and now I know being in law enforcement,
Okay.
field investigation, you're really trying to figure out exactly what's going on. There's several parties involved, several people are there. You are there as a youth, them trying to understand exactly, does this person fit the description of, did this person do, and they're trying to get information. To me, that was just the time in which, when you encountered law enforcement, that would happen.
That was your
Sit on the curb,
experience.
that was my experience. Sit on the curb, let us work everything out. They take the handcuffs off. Hey, you need to hurry up and go home. Or hey, you shouldn't be around here. You don't live here, you need to be over here. You may not want to hang out with this group, or you may not want to. That was our experience back when we were younger, especially back in the 80s.
How did that make you feel at that time, though? I can't imagine. I can say I've never been in handcuffs. So how did that make you feel as a youth?
As a youth, I
Yeah.
mean, two things. As a
Okay.
youth, one, it was not to say it was an experience that you're not very proud of, but you're with your friends. You have that understanding of, hey, we're not doing anything wrong. We felt that it was wrong that we had to be detained or
Okay.
that they had to ask us information. And you really didn't understand exactly, hey, these individuals are actually doing their job or they're trying to conduct an investigation. It came across wrong, and a lot of that was more communication. It
But
was
you
more
know
on the
what?
lines of how you present yourself. And that's something that always stayed with me. So now wearing this uniform, I'm always going to try to be as courteous as possible. I'm always going to try to communicate and talk with you so you understand exactly what I am doing and why I am doing it. I'm also going to want to hear your side of the story so that maybe you can then provide me with some additional information. And a lot of times we were always, hey, you didn't talk to law enforcement. You kept everything to yourself. We addressed and we dealt with issues in our community, and we kept to ourselves because what you may say may be used against you, or what you may say may be misconstrued or may be taken in a different way. So,
But I want to interrupt you for one moment.
no problem.
You just answered a huge question for me, because I've had the opportunity to actually attend some of your not workshops, but some of your community events. And you are just one of the most compassionate, patient, respectful law enforcement people I've ever seen.
Thank you. Thank you.
And now I understand why you spend so much time in the community talking to our seniors, talking to all the different citizens with that kindness and that patience that you have and the respect that you have, that you serve our community. And so now that answered the question for me.
I also go back to, you want to treat people how you want to be treated.
Yeah.
You don't know who you're coming in contact with. That can be that's somebody's sister, that's somebody's brother, father, uncle, husband, wife, whatever it may be. So even though the job is hard and you're trying to get that information, you still can show respect, you still can provide empathy, you still can make sure that you're gathering that information, you still have command presence, but you're also doing it in a way that it brings people down. You want to de-escalate a situation. And that's something that I've always wanted to do in my career, and that's one thing that even when I worked in the schools, I had a wonderful relationship with a lot of the youth there. When I was in warrants or when I was in some of the other units, you still can talk to those individuals and those wanted individuals who were alleged to commit a heinous act, but how you treat them and how you communicate with them, people remember that.
That's amazing.
People remember that, and there will be times to where that individual is no longer incarcerated, and you'll be out in the community or you'll be somewhere. You never know who you may run into.
So you have actually done that?
Yes, and there have been times where I've ran into people who I've encountered during my career or taking some sort of law enforcement action, whether it be arresting an individual or whether it be evicting or whatever it may be. And a lot of times it's been in a positive light of, hey, do you remember me? And I remember this. Excuse me, deputy, you remember me? And I couldn't remember who that person was. And I thought it was kind of ironic. And it wasn't funny at the time, but it's funny as I look back at it.
Okay.
They turned around and put their hands behind their back and looked at me over their shoulder. You remember me now? And I thought that was kind of interesting, but it was, I then started to remember exactly what the situation was and what occurred. And he said, you know what? I was wrong. I was acting out. I was upset. You did what you had to do. But you didn't go overboard. You talked to me about it, and you treated me with respect. You treated me like a man, and I appreciate that. And that stayed with me as well. Treat people how you want to be treated, understanding that we see people at their worst. It doesn't mean that's who they are on a day-to-day basis. It means that I caught you in a moment in time in your life that you weren't where you needed to be, or that there was an issue and a problem. That doesn't define who you are. That doesn't define your life. So that's something that I wanted to make sure that I push down to my troops and the men and women of the Office of the Sheriff to understand that when we encounter these people, because we have court orders, it's not a lot of leeway when the judge is saying, hey, I need you to execute, or you must, or use reasonable force, or allowing us to do certain things. It's our job to execute that order. But it's how we execute that order that makes a huge difference.
That's amazing. It's amazing you said that, because I've had the opportunity, like I said, to attend some of your events, one particularly the Silver Circle.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yes.
That's one of your passions, right?
Yes.
Let's talk about that event with the seniors, the Silver Circle.
So our 55 plus community, we want to make sure, and I don't like using seniors because I'm telling you now.
Well, I'm a senior.
And nobody believes that. Nobody believes that. But what I want to say is, for those who have given so much, who have raised family here in the county, who actually live here in the county and 55 plus, they deserve to be kept abreast of what's going on and happening in the community. So one thing that our Silver Circle does, we talk about crime trends, we talk about what's going on in the community. We also provide resources, whether it be from financial, whether it be bringing the fire department there, the Prince George's County Federal Credit Union. We've also brought in elements and people from the courts, some of our other elected officials, so that we can also keep them tapped into their community and make sure that we meet them where they are. And I think it's wonderful. We provide food for them, and we communicate with them. And when I tell you, as you start to age gracefully, you earned the right to say what you want to say and how you say it. So that is probably some of the best times that I do have doing this job, is talking to our senior community, only because, again, their stories, their concerns, and just interacting with them. I learned so much.
Yes.
And it's one of my better times that I have each and every day.
And you know what's so amazing about that experience, because I've actually attended and I've presented financial education to the seniors as well. Yes. Even if there's something that you're not, that you don't do within the sheriff department, you always take the time to guide them to the resource in the county that can help them.
Yes.
So I find it amazing. And with that in mind, I came up with this acronym about you, Sheriff.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so the S in Sheriff, I want to say servant.
Yes.
I honestly have seen you and witnessed you as a servant. Some folks may not like what I say, but I'm going to have to say and be real about this. Some folks you only see show up in the community when it's time to run for office.
Yes.
You're always out in the community.
Yes.
As soon as I step out there, it doesn't matter what type of event, so many different type of events, I see you out there serving the people. And the next thing is heart. You serve with humility from the heart.
Thank you.
And engagement. I watch you talk to those seniors like you're talking to your mom, like you're talking to your auntie, like you're talking to a family member. And I find that amazing how the seniors engage with you. Then the respect. I have witnessed you respect every single person, regardless of their status, regardless of their age, regardless of what community we go into, because we go into some different type of communities, but yet I see you treat every single person the same. That is amazing to me. Integrity. A man of integrity. We know what that means. Your faithfulness to the community, and then your fortitude, your courage, and your commitment to making sure you keep our county safe. You represent what VIP in the DMV is all about, somebody adding value, identity, and purpose in the lives of others.
Thank you so much. I mean, that means a lot to me. The job that we do, we don't ask for, you know, people to thank us, because again, we do this because we care.
Right.
And as you talk about some of the communities that we're in, we never should make a separation about where you live or your economic status.
Wow.
Or what you're going through. I mean, even when you're looking at some of the court order and some of the stuff that we're doing, to go and to see a family going through hardship, and they're going through a situation where we have a court order to do an eviction. We try every and anything to figure out ways that we can try to help somebody, because again, even though the court order is ordering us to remove this individual or to recover that property, we still can provide those wraparound services. We still can try to work with individuals to make sure that they can still be made whole again. It's all about being about part of the community, and
That's
I would like to believe that I'm part of the community. Just because I'm wearing this uniform doesn't mean I'm not the same person that, you know, I encounter each and every day out in our community. I'm part of this community. I'm the same way that they go through things, I go through things in my own personal life. And I want people to understand that this job is really about this service.
So what are some of the challenges we face or you see out there in our community?
So a lot of it is how we treat each other. It's our communication. It's, you know, how we really are able to communicate, you know, our dissatisfaction, or how we communicate with emotions. The biggest categories in which we're dealing with in the Office of the Sheriff currently right now, with our mental health and mental health unit, that is definitely on the rise, not only here in Prince George's County, but really throughout the country. We're also addressing and trying to deal with some of our youth involvement and dealing with them as far as some of the stuff that they're going through in their lives. A lot of these youth, people don't understand they're going through PTSD, they're dealing with a lot of issues because of what they're experiencing in their lives. The other element that we're seeing, and from the criminal standpoint, is some of the scams.
That's
you know,
huge.
it's very huge right now, where we have people who are taking advantage of folks, calling them and telling them that they have a warrant and that they need to pay some sort of amount of money in order for them to recover or to squash a warrant.
Oh, I think you shared this at the last event I went to, the Silver Circle.
Yes.
They were having people meet them at the sheriff department.
Yes, they
Talk
were asking
about
people.
that. Yeah.
The scammers were asking individuals to drive to the sheriff's office, not to go into the building,
Okay.
to stay in the parking lot, and that they would actually meet them there in order to collect the funds. I mean, and they're asking people to either put money in Bitcoin, bring gift cards, or actually bring some sort of dollar amount to them. One thing that we do now is we're making sure that we're scanning and we're aware of who's coming in and out of the parking lot over at the Office of the Sheriff. But also we're asking individuals, if you do get a call from a deputy sheriff saying that you have an open warrant and that you need to pay money, hang up. And
So we need to hear that again. So if
hang
somebody
up.
called me and say, Levita, we have a warrant for you, and come down to the sheriff department.
Yes.
If you need to pay money, I should do what?
Hang up. If they ask you for any type of money, hang up.
Right.
We would never ask you for any money. We would never. And if there's a court issue, what we would say is we're asking you to come down to headquarters so that we can then talk to you, or that you have paperwork or documentation. We would never ask you for any money. It's no reason for us to ask you for any money. So those are things that we're encountering. And then also our domestic violence. You know, we're expanding in domestic violence.
Yeah.
It's the holiday season currently right now.
Yeah.
We're not seeing as much of intimate partner violence, but we are seeing a lot of, you know, family violence. And as a whole, our families, they're struggling right now. They're trying to relate to each other.
Can you describe what that family violence is?
So you're looking at, now we have father-son, you know, mother-daughter, father-daughter type violence. We're even seeing some of our seniors, grandparents, now having to raise their grandkids.
Wow.
So what do you tell somebody who's a senior who's already raised a child?
Yeah.
They now have their 16 or 15-year-old in the home. That person then starts to get physical with them. That's considered domestic violence.
Yes.
You're also looking at, you know, again, I said father, son, but you're looking at that dynamic of the families. You're also starting to see, because of financial constraints and what we're going through, that you have a lot of folks actually having to move back home. well, hey, if you in my house, you're going to follow by my rules. And you now have a grown child who, no, I'm going to do what I want to do.
Right.
And we're seeing they're getting into it. So it's just not intimate partners. Domestic violence has so many different facets to it that we really need to pay attention. One, we want to educate people. Two, we want to make sure that they have the resources that they need. And then three, we want to provide those wraparound services.
Things have changed.
Yes,
when
they
I was
have.
growing up, your parents, like, I brought you into this world, and I'll take you out of this world. Like, we didn't disrespect our parents. That's very interesting to hear those type of stories.
I'll be honest, what we're encountering right now are parents, a lot of parents may be afraid of their kids.
Why? I can't relate to that.
Every time that we